Today, we are going to look at isometric drawings and orthographic drawings. One problem I've been seeing is that some students are not recognizing the difference between an isometric drawing and an orthographic drawing. Now, this block that we have here, which has a hole going through it, is an isometric drawing. It's an isometric drawing because I can see the three different planes or sides. I can see this left side, I can see this right side, and I can also see the top. And that's the reason it's isometric. Here is another example of an isometric drawing. We can see the left side, we can see the right side, we can also see the top of it. Here is a third example of an isometric drawing. In isometric drawings, you can see one block or one figure, and you can see the different sides of that figure, but it's all drawn together. Now with isometric drawings, they're also done at angles of 30 degrees. Now we're going to go into orthographic drawing. Now at this point, we're going to take a look at this figure that is here. Now this figure has three sides, hence it's an isometric figure. You can see the left side or the left face of it. You can see the right face of it. You can also see the top. So we will call these the sides or the views. And those views will be called the front, the end, the plan. Now you can decide which view you want to be the front. But for me, I'm going to make this view from the left the front view. Now, since I'm looking at it this way, this direction, I'm going to draw it in that direction. When I look at that figure, I can see a squarish type of shape. And since the arrow is pointing to the right, I'm going to draw it on the right side. So I'm going to draw it just about here, and it should look something like this. Just the rectangle that we can see from here. So if I had to call this point here A, B, C, and D, I can actually see A, B, C, and D. And those letters would be here. Now what I'm going to do is, I want to draw the second side. When I take a look at the figure from over here, this will be our end view, and the end view goes to the left. Now the difference between the front and the end view here is that this end view has a hole in it. So I'm going to draw something called projection lines across. For this front view, let me just label it first. I need to project across to the left for this end view. There's some cases where you can project across to the right as well, but since this end view is looking towards the left, we're going to draw it on the left side. So I'm going to decide a measurement over here, how far away I want that view to be. Now I can see that for this end view, this letter over here is D. So D comes across. Let me choose here as D and connect D to this part here. So over here would be my D. And that's because it's at the bottom left hand side for the front view. What I'm going to do also is I'm going to mark C, because D comes straight up to C. So C goes straight up, and I now have my C. I'm going to label a few more letters, A, B, C, D. Let me call this E, let me call this F. So over here would be E, and up here would be F. So I have all four of the letters and the shape. If you look at it though, you would realize that there's something missing from this end view. And what's missing from this end view is the hole that's in the figure, that circle. Now, we have one more view to do, which is our plan view. And for our plan view, it's always beneath the front view in first angle projection. So I'm just going to project down. Now, one of the things I'm going to do also is I'll drop a 45-degree line from the bottom left hand side of the front. Project down my end view. And I'm going to project across. So what happens is, when I drop this 45-degree line, it allows me to project across my plane. So here, when I look at the plan view, I'm going to see the top. So in the plan view, this point here, A, comes down to C. So we try to line it up. So if you take a look at it, A comes straight down. Then, you bring across this line here to the next side. You also bring this part here straight down. So we can see the rectangle from the top view. Now there are a few things that are missing from this drawing that are very important. And those things include center lines and hidden lines. Whenever we have a circle circle will have a center line on it. And since this drawing has a hole in it, it means that we're going to see some extra lines in the figure. So I need to make sure that I project down these points always. So I'm going to project here across the hole. And I'm going to put my hidden detail line that's missing from the front view. Now this front view is finished. Because from F, I am not going to see the hole that is in it. But since I put in the hidden detail, I can now see the hole that's there inside of it. Now what needs to be put in as well? The hole in the plan view. So I'm going to project down. And I'll project across. And I'm going to draw my hole that's in the plan view. So the hidden detail that you use for this hole, it shows the person observing the figure that it has a hole in it. And here is your orthographic to the isometric that is here. Now, with this second example here, number 2, we can see that there's a figure here. This figure has 3 sides or 3 planes. It has the right plane that is here. It also has the left plane that is here. And once we look down at the figure, we can see the top. So with this figure, the front view is going to be used as the broadest view or the view that shows the most detail. Remember that this is an isometric view. So as an isometric drawing, you can see the block as one figure. And what we're going to do is we will draw the orthographic views from it. So with this figure, since the most detail is here on this side, I am going to use this side as my front view. I will then use the left side as my end view, and I will look down at it, the top for my plan view. So the positioning here is this. The front view is pointed to the left, the end view is pointed to the right, and the plan view is beneath. So as we begin to draw, the first thing I'm going to do is a baseline. And I'm going to start by doing my front. Let me call this point here A, and this point here at the top B. So A can be here, and I'm going to draw across. So A comes up to B. Then from B, we're going to go across to this point here. So you're trying to follow each point. If I were to call that point there C, D, E, and F, from C, we would come down to D, and then we will come across to E. C comes down to D, then it comes across to E. So I will always make sure that I can see the full parts and the full size of that view, or the points of that view. What's missing? The rectangular portion that's in the middle. So this is my front view. And if you look at it, the front view is positioned here. It's the same view that I can see in that direction. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw my end. So my end view, I can see A on the right side. I'm going to call this point here G. And I'm going to call this point at the top H. So for my end view, I'm going to project across. I will have A, and I will also have G. And the measurement of this is A to G. So that's my thickness of the figure. Also, I need to project across the top side. I also need to project here. I need to project the hole as well. So you always project across your lines. So now G comes straight up to H and B, and A comes straight up to B. So if you look here, B is over here, it comes across. There's a bit of hidden detail. Since I'm looking at this drawing from this side, I'm going to see this solid line here first, and the other points behind it will be hidden. So this little piece here will not be seen from this side. You need to remember that you are looking at the drawing side. So as you look at it, you're going to see this left side here first. So all of those parts that are on the right side will be hidden. This part here is blocked. So that's another hidden part. Over here, this part here is blocked as well. That's another hidden part. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to project downwards to draw our plan view. And for our plan, we always project down from the front. So I'm going to label my views. Now one of the reasons why you position the drawings like this is so that when you project your views, it shows you that they line up correctly. So when I look at the plan view, B and H here are the same point, B and H are the same point, so H is there. I'm going to project down my end view, then I'll project it across. And you realize that I'm using horizontal lines and also vertical lines. Now, for this view, if we take a look over here at the end, we would have had A and G. We would also have had B and H. So B is here and H is here. And those are the points that are projected across from the front. Now H comes down, it comes across, and you will realize that H that is at the top actually lines up with H in the bottom. So the plan view will look something like this. And once again, you project down your lines. And I'm drawing these in pencil because these are some hidden lines. Now when I look at the plan, I'm looking down. So you would realize that you're going to see this solid part here, and then you're going to see this solid part here. So there's an edge here that you need to put in. That edge is from C. Over here, this part is hidden, it is behind. So you put in those hidden points. And then this one, this is behind again. So you put in those hidden points. And that is your plan view. So for those, that is your front end and plan of number 2. For this third example, we're going to look at a figure here that has some cylinders in it. Now when you take a look at this figure, you use the broadest part as the front and the narrowest side as the end. For this figure, we're going to use the front as this right side. So that will be our front view. Then our end is going to be the left. And of course our plan will be looking down. So once again, I draw a horizontal line going across. And that horizontal line is going to be the beginning of our front. So I will draw, let me start from here. So that point can be this left side. Let me call that B. And I'm going to use the left side here as A. So now since these cylinders are the same measurement coming down, it's going to actually look like a flat piece. So for this part, I'm only going to draw in the base, and that's the length. So I will now draw in the height of these cylinders. Even though it looks as if these cylinders are at different measurements, these cylinders are actually at the same measurement, and I'll show you why now. So let me project down from my plan view. And the reason that I'm drawing this plan view early is because of the type of drawing. This drawing has in circles. So whenever we have in circles, we must draw the center lines for the circles. So the first circle is going to be positioned here. Then the second circle is going to be positioned here. So I'm going to start by drawing my center lines in. Whenever you have circles, you try your best to draw the circles first. So I'm going to put in here center lines. Then I'm going to put a horizontal center line here in the plan view. Now that I have in those center lines, I'm going to draw my circles here in the plan. So here's the first circle. Here's my second semicircle. Now the next thing is there's a thickness here between these two parts. So I will have to decide what the thickness is going to be based on the measurement, and I will draw that in. I'm going to finish the drawing. So what is happening is I am doing the plan view of the drawing first. And the reason that I'm doing the plan view of this drawing first is because it has in circles. So you need to remember that. Now Now I have to project up the points. So once those lines are projected up, I will put in what is going to be hidden in my front view, and I'll put in what is going to be in solid in my front view. Now the way this drawing is going to look like a rectangular block with a number of lines in it. The example here that I'm doing, the drawing that I'm doing, will just show you how to correctly draw the front end and plan of these views. Now, since the front is over to the left and the plan is at the bottom, we're going to draw our 45-degree line going to the right. So that 45-degree line is there. I'll project across my points. You will realize as well that I am projecting across the hidden lines. Then I'm going to project upwards. So all of the points are projected upwards. Now I'm going to project across. So with this end view, remember over here that we had A, and this A was on the left side, the bottom left point. A also is here. So when we project A across, it actually comes to the center. So let me go over that again. A is here on the left side. We have A here. Once we project down, A is this point. We project across, and upwards is the center. So what this is showing you that when you're looking at the end view, you can actually see like this block. And that is what is drawn here. So let me just connect my points together. Then there's a bunch of hidden detail that I'm going to see. The last thing here will be my hidden detail for this part. Remember, you need to project across all lines. Here's my front, my end, and my plan view. The only thing that I have missing, I need to put in those center lines to show. So you always put in your center lines. And those are my 3 solutions to the questions that I gave.